Welcome, welcome, welcome to Inspirational Talks with Laura Simmons and friends. How's everyone doing today? Well,
Good.
good, good. I'm Laura Simmons. I have with me Margaret Simmons. She's in the
Margaret,
building today.
Margaret Green.
Margaret Green. I said Margaret Simmons. I've been drinking.
You got that right.
Drinking hot water. Hot water.
How y'all doing?
Hello, everyone. So, y'all know our topic today is about mental health. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's also lupus month as well. So
Yes.
we're going to be talking about that today. That's going to be Let's Talk About It Tuesday's topic today. Um, so, Margaret, you have any gold nuggets before we get started today?
No, not really. I just it's been one of those days. But just just be prepared in this market. If you want to buy something, just be prepared to either have your down payment and your be credit ready, because the buyers are out here, and some of them buying cash and without contingencies. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh, that's good. I think that was when we
that's
first
good for the buy
for
for the seller,
right.
but for a buyer that's trying to get their first home, that's not
That's
so
not
good,
right. Right.
because they get um, pushed out, because that
Right.
seller might say, I'd rather deal with the cash, because like they say, cash is king. So
Yeah, that's how we did with our home. When we got our home, we actually kicked somebody else out of the deal because of they didn't have their stuff together. Actually, theirs was on contingency of selling their home,
yeah.
and we
Yeah,
was like,
and that happens. If you do a
let's keep this.
contingency, you want to make sure that the contingencies that you do are worth putting down, because if there's multiple offers, and they don't have any or very little contingencies, you won't get that in most cases. And if
Mhm.
it's cash, you can forget it, because a lot of times when they do cash, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they forego contingencies, especially if it's
Mhm.
in a situation where multiple people are interested in it and they really want it. So that's my go nugget. Be financially ready, because you
Mm.
may have to dig deep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's like it's time for the show, and it's like everybody want to send me messages, texts, calls, and all that. So it's so funny. But anyways, that's good information. Thank you for the information. Anyway,
You're
so
welcome.
how was your day today?
It was a little rough. I got a little aggravated. So
Okay.
uh, uh, good. I didn't throw my laptop, but I got kind of upset. Really, I did. So I
Well,
said,
don't
well,
let
I'll
them.
just
We
get
know
mad
that
because they
commercial. It said, "Don't let them
understand.
see you sweat."
Yeah, nobody. They didn't say, it was just me in the office by myself. Everybody was gone, so
Oh,
I
okay.
got to get mad by myself.
Oh, okay.
But I was just kind of. It was just one of those moments.
Oh, okay. Well,
Technology
it
is good,
happens.
but sometimes is aggravating.
Yeah, it be like that sometimes. But so I'm gonna tell you a few things that little news that I got today. One of them was about Tyson. They said they're not gonna charge him for the plane incident after hitting that passenger.
They shouldn't.
Uh, yeah, well, you put a camera in somebody's face and they
Yeah,
not,
and
and
somebody,
I understand that because he's a celebrity, you feel like it's okay. But
they
sometimes,
still human.
yeah, they still human. I mean, you can't just put a camera in somebody's face and think that it's all right.
Didn't think it's
It doesn't.
funny. You study
Yeah,
irritating. I mean,
and
that's
then
irritating.
he was irritating him.
Mm-hmm. He kept
Yeah.
telling him to leave him alone. Kept telling him to say,
So yeah,
leave, and he wouldn't listen. I said,
he said he was his number one fan. That's what they were saying. A lot of people were
everybody
saying,
says that.
yeah, that he was his number one fan. So I guess that gives him the right to, put the camera in the man's face. No, that doesn't give him the right to do that.
No, sirree, Bob.
Then another thing that I was just reading about was about this father in Florida. Um, he killed his own daughter during a fight with her boyfriend. The boyfriend, I guess him and the girlfriend was arguing into it, and it turned out the father jumped into the fight, and the father had a butcher knife
Mm-hmm.
allegedly,
You
and the daughter jumped in between trying to stop the two men from fighting, and he ended up stabbing his own daughter, and he killed her.
gosh.
She was only 22 years old.
Oh my God.
No, 22
You gotta be
years old.
careful, man.
Yeah. So yeah,
You
he.
gotta be
So
careful. I know
yeah.
that. And he ain't he no more. I guarantee he's no more good.
No, he ain't, because they said that he had just um wrote on her page that she was his heart and everything and things like that. And a couple of hours later, um, uh, this
Yeah.
incident happens, and she in the middle of it, and she gets killed. So yeah, that's a hard pill to swallow. Could you imagine what his life is like and gonna be like? Even even with him being in jail and stuff, his life is gonna be it's gonna be upside down. His world is
Mm-hmm.
upside down now because of
Mm-hmm.
this. All. So yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow. That's a very hard pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you know,
And that's a sad reality because he's gonna have a whole lot of time to think about that, even just a short time of sitting in his cell or whatever they have right now, where he is right now, wherever he's thinking about that.
yeah,
He
yeah,
can't shake it because I can imagine he saw her take her last breath.
yeah, of course. And this is your child, the child that you told her, she's your little princess. You love her. You hug her. You tell her, that she's your heartbeat. She's your anger sometime, and she's your little fire that gives you the energy that you get to do all the things that you do. And then, this happens. So I can only imagine how
I
he
can
may feel.
only imagine.
Yeah. So, well, you guys know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's also Lupus Month as well. May is Lupus Awareness as well.
Hmm.
So, mental health awareness has been celebrated in May since 1949. Did you know that?
Oh wow.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. You think that back in those days, you think that they really didn't have as much mental illness problems as they do now, but I guess they had just as many mental problems as they have now going on today. And we just didn't realize it because I guess because our parents were so much stronger, they seemed so strong to us and stuff, but they were dealing with it themselves.
A lot of them was and they also were no nonsense either.
Hmm.
So if you did have issues, you would you try to straighten them up because they wasn't playing. And
Yeah.
it's like yeah,
Yeah, but mental health is something that you can't, it's
no, I
not,
know.
yeah, it's not something that people could just straighten out like, okay, so I'm gonna change today. No, it's not. It's got to be corrected with medical treatment, and there are so many varieties of concerns and issues. It can come from substance abuse. Um, it can come from
I think
uh,
it also can probably come from food.
domestic violence. It can come from mood disorders. It can come from anxiety disorders, sexual trauma. It could come from bipolar disorders. it can come from so many different
There's
things.
so
And
many strands of it.
yes,
You know,
yeah, yes,
you don't
and
know
and
what
it's
to do and how to begin dealing with it. In some cases, it starts at a young age too,
oh yeah,
at an infant stage, and like
yeah,
not quite infant, but like maybe a 1 year old, 2 year old, and
hmm,
sometimes you think, oh, they're just having a tantrum. No, sometimes it's more than that.
yeah. It's
You
just like the young lady who she was from Toddlers and Tiaras. She was 16 years old. She
know?
started in the business when she was a toddler, and just recently they said she committed suicide. Kayla, I think her name
Is that the one
Kayla
who jumped off the building?
Posey. No,
No.
that's a different young lady. I'm gonna get to her in a minute. But this young lady, this was just recently. Her name is Kayla Posey, and she died May 2nd. She was 16 years old. She just celebrated 2 days before. She had just posted her prom pictures. Her and her one of her friends dressed in a prom dress, and then 2 days later she gone. She committed suicide. And the same thing with the other young lady, Chelsea Chris. She was 30 years old. She was the Miss USA. She committed suicide on January 30th. It's and all each one of them is they're saying that it was mental health. They had problems. They was already having problems. Listening to the story of Chelsea, I felt so bad for her to begin with. When I heard her story, I literally tears just came to my eyes because just the thought of what this young lady went through. Okay, so when she won Miss America in 2019, people was telling her that she was ugly, she was too old to be. It comes from the
People
bullying
are
that
cruel.
people. Right,
You
but
know, people are
she's
cruel.
beautiful. The young
Yeah,
lady
she
was
was.
beautiful. So I didn't understand the part with her being ugly and all this other stuff that they
Well,
were saying to her.
that's just like with people that think they fat and when they skinny and they study keep on doing stuff to try to keep
Hmm.
from gaining weight and they're already anorexic and they still thinking, oh, I'm still fat. I'm still fat. So that's a
Hmm.
mental health issue too, because you're looking at yourself in the mirror and the other person seeing them like you're thin. No, I'm fat. Don't you see the fat? And I'm like, where? So
Yeah,
that's a thing mentally that that people experience too when they dealing with they're anorexic, because they thinking they're fat when they see themselves fat and no other people don't.
yeah, and
So it's
it's so
so many, like
sad.
I said, so many layers of mental health.
It's so sad because you say to yourself, "Wow." I'm when I heard her story and her parents was talking about different things that she was going through and stuff, and they were saying how people were saying cruel things to her on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. They were saying
Hmm.
really cruel things to her about her being too old and she was ugly, and I'm like, where was she ugly at? Because I didn't see it. I'm like, okay, I don't get it. But people are cruel like that. They will say some really really mean and nasty things that will um really destroy people, and
Hmm.
don't think twice about it. That's the sad part about it. It's the
And
same
the
thing
sad
with.
thing about it is you got children who are emulating their parents.
Oh yeah, and the sad part is you
They
think about
say
it.
mean stuff to other kids, and you
Mhm.
wonder where did they get that from. But then you start looking and you see sometimes what their parents are saying and doing to other adults, or they did the same thing when they were young, being saying things and saying mean things to people, and not realizing how horrible that is. And when you say something to some people, they get an attitude.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
they just got to
absolutely right,
say.
Faith. You're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It is. It's running rapid in our
It
society.
is.
Yeah, and but the sad part
And
is
social
you
media ain't
look at
helping.
all of these people here, the ones that they're talking about that's mainly in the news right now is celebrities. They're actually celebrities, and that one thing, that a discussion that myself and my husband always have is that money doesn't make you happy.
Nope.
So,
You got
so
you got
they
millionaires and
have
billionaires in
money,
the
and
gravesite
yeah,
because
they
they committed
showing you,
suicide.
they showing you by what you're seeing. Look at Regina King's son, same
Hmm.
thing. Young. These young people are young. Oh, we got what you said, Faith. We understood. And hello to everyone, Faith, everyone that's out there. We want to say
And
hello to you guys.
everybody, but
Yep.
yeah, it's a situation where and that's why I said social media don't help sometimes because young people have young and old. They'll kids say something to them on social media, and instead of because I always would say, why don't you just turn it off? But it's not so much to just turning it off. It's the fact that when they get to school, by then everybody know and,
Exactly.
and heard what was said, and they're teasing them. So they
Mm-hmm.
are and they go into bathrooms and being beaten up and bullied
Yep.
and been said called all kind of names in the hallway and stuff. Like when we were growing up, it was like, okay, you want to call me a name, and we fighting, and then everybody back friends again. Now you get into a fight because somebody says something out the way to you. You got to worry about somebody trying to take your life after school.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with several different layers of mental health, not only from that standpoint, but then
You got
somebody saying something after you constantly to you later.
Yeah. And you got the domestic violence, you got the
Yeah.
mood disorders, you got sexual trauma that some of these young people are dealing with, and some
Hmm.
older are dealing with it. But
And they never got over it either.
no, they never got it out their system because they were
Mhm.
taken advantage of when they were young,
And back then they used to say what goes on in the house stays in the house.
Yeah.
So a lot of young people grew up with things that happened to them when they were kids. It's like when what's her name, Tisha Campbell, was when she was on Unsung, and she was talking about her childhood, and she said the trauma she felt, and it was like she said it was so she said she literally had an out of body experience,
Mhm.
and she was a little girl, and she said that so mentally sometimes kids and people put it in the back of their mind and try to forget it, and certain things can trigger it,
Yeah.
and then so it's like you just don't know what you don't know how to deal with stuff in this day and time because everybody's just seeming like they're doing and saying all kind of crazy stuff to each other, and
Yeah.
they don't care. I was in on Walmart the other day, and this lady just started screaming at the clerk, and she started telling her, she she kept telling her, um, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. I promise you, I'm not the one. And I'm thinking to myself, what caused all that? And I just hurried up and got my groceries and got out of there because it had to be more to it than just that to trigger her into that mode that
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. It's just like I was saying last week that the lady who tried to get something started with me in the line, because of I didn't say excuse me, but I didn't say excuse me because I didn't know if her husband was in line. I didn't honestly I didn't even know if they were together or not. So I didn't
Mhm.
say excuse me. I didn't say excuse me because I wasn't sure.
Right.
I wasn't sure if she was in line, he was in line or what. So I just didn't say nothing. And so she said, so she started talking about something. Uh, I don't know why she just standing back there and she didn't say excuse me. All she had to do was say excuse me. And I'm like saying to myself, I said, I guess really what she wanted me to do was set something back. And I didn't. I didn't go there. I said, I'm not gonna go there with her because I already see where this is gonna go because she wants me, she's trying to bait me into an argument. And I
Mhm.
said, some people look for trouble. They go to places like that to look
Yeah.
for trouble so you can say something back to them, and
That's
next
like
thing you know it's a fight in the store because of it.
yeah, that's like Angela Bassett's husband said it. He was on the show, and he's on that show, and he said that he prevented his wife from getting into an altercation because the person was trying to provoke her, and he told her, he said, "No, we worked too hard for this. We worked too hard." He said, "Ignore her. Just keep going." He said, "Just keep walking because she's trying to provoke you."
Yeah.
And that's exactly what people do,
Yep.
especially if you got some chatter. They really gonna try to provoke you then. But
Hmm.
it's like, no, you have to sometimes just have to say, you know what, weigh the pros and cons. Is it worth it? Is it worth it for me to hit them in the throat, make your teeth click? I don't know. But I tell you what,
Yeah, stuff
you,
triggers are coming to at our young youth and from so many angles.
yeah,
They need go result. You're absolutely right. It is. It's like it's coming at our young people so badly.
mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous
And
how
they
our
and
young
they a lot of
people
them
are.
don't know how to fight. They don't know how
Yeah,
to fight it. It's,
yeah, they struggling. And it's a and I want to say this because it's some people don't believe this, but sometimes it's spiritual warfare,
it is.
and they don't
That's
know how to
exactly what
battle
we're
back,
in
right?
this
They
country
don't
right
know how to battle it back. It was just like this young lady was telling me today. I was in the store and she said that she was on the north side or something like that. I think it was the north side of Chicago. She said all these fancy cars was in the parking lot. She said, so this man knew that any apartment that he broke into, he was going to get a nice car. He could get a nice car.
now.
So he
Mm-hmm.
broke into one of the man's apartments, and the man, car keys was still there. So he grabbed the car keys to a fancy truck that was in the parking lot and drove off with it.
Wow.
Yeah, he broke into his apartment. So it didn't matter whose apartment it was. He just knew that
Either
whoever
one of
apartment
them.
he broke into, somebody gonna have a nice ride. So it's just sad how
Look, why don't you
society
work
is
for your
so
own?
right. It's so messed up now. It's like, okay, how do we fix this? So my number one thing is when I say how do I fix stuff, I'm getting on the knees. I'm getting on my knees and I'm gonna talk to the Father about it because I can't handle it. I can't
Mm-mm.
do this by myself. I
Nope.
can't correct the problems that the world is facing, we facing out here in the world and stuff. So I get on my knees and I start praying. I start
Well,
talking to the Lord.
I think just like the Bible says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, he said, then when I hear from heaven and heal the land, forgive their sins and heal the land. It's so much it's so many people on so many levels that need to start praying in
Mhm.
this country, and it's not just individual, just us alone. It's these political leaders need to start praying because
Yes, it
this country
does.
is headed in the wrong direction. It don't matter who in charge. I don't care if you're
Yep.
Democratic or Republican. We need to pray
Yep.
and seek God for for guidance and direction for what is going on. We allowing too much stuff, and the devil is just saying he laughing at us, and he's saying, y'all, the country's supposed to be standing on godly principles, but y'all far from it right now, and he having a
Yeah.
field day.
Yeah, they took it out of the schools. No prayer in schools. The kids don't
Hmm.
don't say
They
prayer no
still fighting that
more.
now because there's some young
Yeah,
people wanted to have prayer before their games, and they
yeah,
talking about they wanted they have an issue with that. I'm like, if these young people want to have prayer before their games and before different events that they have, let them. You
yeah.
know, if you don't want to be a part of it, don't be a part of it.
Yeah, it's
You
so
know,
sad though because in our world that we live in now, mental health is like the number one thing that's happening in our world. Because you think about it, how do a sane person go into a preschool and kill a bunch of kids? That's
hmm
not a sane person. That person has some mental issues. How does
yeah,
a sane
that's
person go
true.
into a church and kill everybody in the church? That's
But
somebody that has they have.
But some of it is not born mental, some of it is developed. Because the young man that did that here in South Carolina,
Mhm.
his friends couldn't believe it because didn't they said he never acted like he had issues. He never he got along with everybody.
Allegedly, right?
And yeah, and so so when everybody when they found out who it was, they were shocked. So
Mhm.
it's like you got a lot of people out here. Sometimes life can bring so much trauma that you can literally check out, and you
Yeah.
are a same person, but you can eventually check out. It's like a young man. It was I think it was on the news where it was on the news. The gentleman He worked at a news station at one time, and apparently he got upset with them because they I think they fired him, and he went to HR and everything, but he ended up killing the person while she was in the middle of filming. In the
Oh
middle of
yeah,
filming,
I remember that. I
yeah.
remember that.
And so he just felt like I nothing I can tell. I went through the channels, and yet they didn't do nothing about it. So I'm just gonna do what I need to do in public. And that's the thing. Everything is not everybody's not born with it. Some people develop it with I had a friend of mine. He used to say he used to tell me that he developed ADD why he start when he first started doing the job he was doing before he retired. And I said, how you gonna do? He said, he said distress. He said distress. He said it just. He said I just my patience and my attention span just went out the window.
Still eater runs deep. You never know who is on the edge. No, you don't. You
Mm.
don't. You don't know who's on the edge.
Yeah,
Some
that's why you gotta be
people,
careful
yeah, you got to be
in
careful
the
what you say.
store, driving
Still
down the
water.
road.
Okay. She said still water.
Yeah.
That's what she meant. Still water runs deep. Yep, and it's true. You don't know who is on the edge and stuff because I was just thinking about something. Um one day I was in a store and I know for myself, I was in a bad mood about something else. I had something else on my mind that was bothering me. And just something simple, the simplest thing can
It set
trigger
you
you
off.
off. So it was in my case, it was because the way the person was bagging my things up. Okay. So before I knew it, I said, wait a minute. Don't you know the difference between putting food with chemicals? You don't put food with chemicals, stuff that you clean in the tub and the toilet with food. And I had to catch myself. I was like, oh God. I said, I
You think
said,
about it from work,
right, but I said to him,
but
I
you knew
said,
that too.
I told him, I said, but you know what? That's something you should practice though. I
Mm-hmm.
said, you should practice not putting people's food with products they're gonna be using to
Mm-hmm.
clean their house with. If
And
that
they do
stuff
that.
spill
They do
over,
that even
it's
now.
gonna
They
it's
still
gonna
do that.
ruin their food.
People
They
do.
their food is ruined.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Because
and
I see that all the time.
yeah,
That's
but
what.
and
And I
the
think
guy
it's
looked
probably
at
why it's
me
better
like I
to
was
do this stuff
crazy.
back
He
out.
was mad because he got mad because I said something. But I'm like, I mean, common sense will tell anybody you don't put food and products together like that.
Mhm.
If it spill over now my food is ruined. And guess what? I'm coming right back and bringing this crap all back. And I'm gonna get new stuff. Y'all gonna give me new stuff. So why not do it right the first time? Then I don't have to come back here with an
Mhm.
attitude, angry or disappointed or whatever the case may be. She
Yeah,
said, good
because
point.
all
Yeah.
it takes is one time for somebody to be mad.
Yeah, and that's what happens with a lot of people. So with the COVID stuff, that
It
didn't
made
help.
it worse.
That made mental health even worse because
And
now
that's why I
people
said it
having
developed
more
new
problems.
people because
Yeah,
they were saying how some people because we were meant to be able to communicate with one another. That's a given. So even so when the pandemic happened, people got tired of their own people, their own family. They wanted to see
yeah.
other folk. They wanted to talk to other people. They didn't
Did you
want to
ever
deal with the
see any
kids
of the
no more.
memes? The memes that they put on, I guess that's how they call it, the memes or whatever, where they put them, they show you little different things about people, and they showing people burying they mates in the backyards and stuff from the pandemic
Yeah,
because they're like, oh yeah, we together too long.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
yeah,
what that's the funniest thing though, because people I think how some people stay married long for a long time is because and for so many years some people the spouse was working and the other spouse was the homemaker. But then when that spouse become home on a regular basis and he's home all the time, they can become aggravating. That's why so many of them working in them these older gentlemen working now because they wives probably was like, you need to get something, find something to do because you give me too much to do. because they started becoming nitpicky and all kind of stuff. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, and they said they was like good ways to help people. If you notice a loved one, a friend, or a family member or something going through it,
start being
not only
withdrawn.
is that the 1-800 Lifeline number that I put up there and the crisis text number that I put up there, you can also go to the National Institute of Health. You can go to the National Institute of Mental Health, American Addiction Center, National Institute of Drugs and Abuse, and a National Suicide Prevention Hotline and American Counseling Association, and get you some help through one of those sites there too. So yeah, they have like different things that you can do, that different places that you can go and seek help for loved ones that may be going through something, dealing with it. They may be dealing with the crises and dealing with depression or whatever the case may be.
The oddest thing I've noticed also is pets go through that too. I'm
Yeah,
not an
I
animal
heard
person,
that. I
but
heard.
they actually go through it too. I remember seeing a video of um, a dog was at the cemetery and he wouldn't leave the person's tombstone. He was sitting there. He would not leave. They kept saying, "Come on, let's go." He wouldn't. He would not leave that person's cemetery. He wouldn't. He did not want to leave
the
the
grave site.
no, gravesite. And that was and that was I was like, wow, they knew. He knew she was that person was gone. And then there was another one where it was military, and the dog, they let the dog come to the funeral. He went and sat right in front of the casket. He sat right in front of the casket, and he just looked so sad. I said, so it's like it's a lot of things that people deal with, that they go through, and some things are people are born with it, and some people develop it. Because
Yeah,
like I said, mental health can be developed. I think because you have um because you have sometimes some people can endure abuse that it mentally messes them up.
yeah,
When
yeah.
some, like women and men, you
That's what
know
they said. Domestic violence.
yeah, it
Domestic
just be
violence
like,
can cause it. Yeah,
I mean, you have people who have had spouses that as soon as they hear the door open or their car pull up, they start bugging out because they know what the trauma that they've already dealt with, and now the trauma that they're gonna have to deal when that person come in the house. So it's like it's in so many different levels to it, and you just don't know what how you don't know what that person is dealing with, that's standing in front of you in line or standing behind you in line, or even maybe the person that's doing ringing up your stuff. You don't know what they gone through or what they had to go through to even get to work. You know,
yeah. They
like
said now these are different ways that they can help themselves to maintain their mental health. One is regular check in with oneself.
mm-hmm,
Um, uh, being honest with oneself.
mm-hmm,
Unveiling unpleasant, and something I guess that's not pleasant to you at all.
mm-hmm,
Uh, do not sweep stuff under the rug. Um, Address it in a healthy, meaningful way. Support if needed. Seek it as soon as possible, sooner than later.
mm-hmm.
And living in balance is important. And being in balance is important. They say.
You remember the movie? Was it Daddy's? Not Daddy's Girl. The movie with Elise Neal. The one, her, Janet Jackson, all of them was in this movie, and her and what's
Oh,
his name killed her
oh,
kid,
I know what
killed
you're
the
talking
kids.
about.
He dropped the kids out the window.
Yeah. What was that? Because they just did the stage play for it just
Hmm.
recently.
That was a form of mental health issue,
Yeah,
because he had came from the, I think he had been in the military or something.
military. Yeah,
And so she was going through a lot of mental abuse from him, because
yeah.
what he dealt with in the service, she ended up enduring the stuff that he dealt with in the military. She ended up dealing with
I
it
think
when
it's
he
called
come home.
for color girls. That's what I think
Yeah,
it's
that
called,
one.
for color
And
girls.
and then just like when Janet was in the movie and she was dealing with this issue she had with her spouse. So every one of them had an issue that they were dealing with, and you didn't even
Hey,
and
Ursula.
nobody just knew that they were going through it. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, but that's the sad part, is that a lot of times people don't see the signs. They don't pay attention to
No,
the signs.
or
So
they
because
ignore
they
the
don't
sign.
pay attention, right? But because they don't see the signs and they're not paying attention to the signs, a lot of times we let loved ones slip between our fingers because we're not paying any attention to it.
Mm-mm.
And it's so important to pay attention to mood swings. It's so important and to pay attention to things that they may give away or that they do and stuff. It's so
Yeah,
important to pay attention to those things, because a lot of times they're giving us warnings, and if we're not paying any attention to it, or we're not trying to figure out what's going on with that person, that's how we lose loved ones. That's how they slip through our fingers and stuff.
yeah,
So it's so important. It's and they said family is a key importance um to helping,
dealing with it.
right, helping family through mental health, that's dealing with mental health. It said that's a key component.
So what do you think about it, Ursula?
What mental health overall?
Yeah, from a youth or from an adult standpoint, because
Um,
both of them deal with it.
I mean, I'm glad that people in general are taking the subject more seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I really am talking about it,
yeah.
and help, and different agencies are helping to educate more people about it, because it's it's always known, it's been a taboo in different, I'm sure it's not just the black community. um
Mm,
Exactly.
I could just only speak from our community's point of view, but it's like people throughout times have been looked down on for having mental illness.
yeah.
In
Yeah,
in the days, look, before modern medicine, people were even accused to being possessed, and they may have been suffering with mental illness or whatever,
Right.
um, because it's just a negative connotation surrounding it. And
Yeah.
the reality is
but now
that,
people have been possessed.
Yeah, but
I
But
understand that.
not in that sense. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, because it may not, like and back in the day, in the 1800s, early 1900s as well, they would
I
even
look good, don't it, from being the 1800s?
huh?
Excuse me. I look good from being from the 1800s on up.
No,
yeah,
no, I'm
well, Ursula, they said that they started celebrating that the mental health awareness back in 1949. So that's originally when they started really noticing in it. That's when they started
Wow,
that's
noticing it.
that's a
that's what
long time for them to
it's almost like,
finally.
that's almost like Juneteenth though. It's like, oh, y'all free, but people don't know about it till years later.
Later,
And they
right.
still
You
trying
know,
to
they
decide if they want to approve it.
right.
Hmm.
They might have started to recognize it, but it's like, even in the 1800s, in the early 1900s, um, supposed to be doctors were even diagnosing women who would mention their sex parts or sex drive as even being possessed or having a mental illness. They would
What?
diagnose, yeah, excuse
My
me.
goodness.
They would even diagnose people who are homosexual as
Yeah.
having mental illness. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yep, it said it
Um,
on there too.
huh?
It says it on there too. It says it
Yeah.
mentions about the different types of things that people have been through, um, various issues. It tell you the various issues that they have suffered from that causes the mental health.
Yes. And when I was younger, I've suffered with depression. Um, and when I was younger, I didn't know it was depression. I didn't know what depression was.
Mm.
Um, excuse me. I would just have this feeling and didn't know if there are no words, especially
Mm.
as a child, to
Mm.
describe that you feel like you're in a hole
Yeah.
alone.
Mm.
There are no words to say. What do you say, Mama? Your mama gonna be like, "Girl, if you don't get out of here," but you
Yep.
don't even know what to say though.
Yep.
There
Because you
are
don't know
no
why you feeling that way. That's the thing.
right.
You don't
You don't
understand it
know.
because you ain't never felt those emotions, so you don't know.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then and so when I finally began, when I was diagnosed, I was 25, I think, 24, 25, after my birth of my last son. And they did all these tests on me because I was having this issue with my head. And they did all these tests, MRI, CAT scan, all this stuff, blood work, all these things, whatever. And they was like, everything physically is okay. So we're gonna send you to a psychiatrist. Um,
Really? Wow.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely. My family privately, and I'm not embarrassed by this or whatever because it is my life. My family privately, they took me to, all kind of ministers. They took me to um, this lady in Alabama.
Oh, really?
I won't say on the air what she was, but they took me to her and gave me all
Wow.
these things to do. Um, and my mom, she's the youngest of six children. And so her oldest sister was at the time, like she might be like, I'm just trying to give her age difference. Her oldest sister might be like 40 years older than her.
Mm-hmm.
So she was brought up with her nieces and nephew. And so she had a different viewpoint from her siblings, right? So my mama didn't raise us to be into all of that. I'm trying to say what I'm saying without saying what I'm saying.
Right.
Hmm.
So, when my family was taking me to see this lady or whatever, and the lady, she was powerful. I'll tell you what she was. She was a prophet.
Oh, okay.
But okay, just think about the negative connotation of it. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, for people who don't understand.
yeah, I don't like talking about that too much, but
Hmm.
so my mom, didn't believe in all of that. Well, I'm not gonna say she didn't believe in it, but we don't my mom raised us a little bit different from my aunties with us. So anyway, we went to this lady. This lady told me all this stuff right on the nose or whatever, but it still wasn't a solution.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to the psychiatrist, that even did nothing. It wasn't until I went to group counseling when I heard all these other people's who were dealing with the headaches, who were dealing with the shakiness, who were dealing with feelings of feeling alone, who were dealing with anxiety and wondering if they were about to die and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The
Hmm.
the symptom, these crazy symptoms that make you really think that you're crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was in this group with this lady, and this lady talked about one day she woke up and she couldn't move. She couldn't talk,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't communicate,
Mm-hmm.
nothing. Her family rushed her to the emergency room. And she said she was scared. They gave her every test, top to bottom, every test. Team of doctors, from Grady, because Grady will find out. Well, y'all don't know Grady, but Grady's like the
Fred
community.
Sanford's friend.
Huh?
Fred Sanford's friend.
No, not that
Oh.
Grady.
Okay.
Grady is like the community hospital. But here's the deal. Grady is one of the most famous hospitals in the world.
Okay.
Doctors
okay.
come from all over the world to intern and to do their residency at Grady. If you go
Oh.
to Grady, no matter if something, you know how you go to different places, they be like, oh, I don't know what's wrong. Grady is a hospital. If you don't know what's wrong, they will find what's wrong. But so, see, y'all made me lose my train of thought. But anyhow, telling
No.
y'all about Grady. But anyway, um,
You lost your own train of thought.
yeah, I did. But here it is. Here it is. Here it is. So she ended up going to Grady. Okay,
Mhm.
they did all these tests on her, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And they was like, nothing is wrong. So it's mental, right? But she still could not function. Understand what I'm saying? She couldn't breathe on her own.
Mentally.
She couldn't do anything. So you know what I'm saying? But she was awake. She was not unconscious. She was not in a coma. So they're like, something's got to give. So they started allowing her to go, not allowing her because they had to push her in there because she was not functioning, to
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
group therapy. And she said it
Wow.
one day in group therapy, she just started to scream like the loudest screech you could imagine.
Like
And
she
Mhm.
was doing a high pitch in a song,
it was worse. I'm sure it was worse. But she said that she was crying, she was screaming, and the
Mhm.
people was like, what is wrong? What is wrong? This woman had been raped
huh?
and
Oh wow.
never told a soul.
So
And she
did she?
said,
Did it help her?
yeah, that's what
So
she
she
started to feel.
also
That's
she started coming out and started telling them about what was going on with her and stuff.
yeah, yeah. She was screaming, crying, telling everybody but I'm gonna tell you something. My grandma told me, but I seen it for myself. When you got something
Mm-hmm.
in you that need to come out, one way or the other, it's gonna come out.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Indeed.
Hey, Angelique.
hey,
Hello.
Angelique.
Angelique.
Hey.
And when you
Y'all
got
some
something in there,
tidbit.
like it's like some bad seafood. If it need to
Mhm.
come out, it's gonna come out one way or the
Or
other.
the other. Yeah.
And that's the thing what people don't understand. That's why if I got an issue, yeah, I'm gonna think about it. Sometimes I don't think about it though. But if I got an issue with you, I am not gonna hold on to it. I'm gonna say, look here, I'm being polite as possible, but blah 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 blah. If I got an issue with somebody in my job, I'm gonna speak it because I learned from so many years holding stuff in. It don't help nobody.
Body.
It
It'll destroy you.
manifests into
Yeah, it's
illness.
just self destruction inside,
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
and it shows on
Yeah.
the outside eventually.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you can cause yourself heart problems and stuff too. You can cause yourself having a heart attack,
And you
stroke,
can tell when
things
people
like
have
that from
issues
that
like
because
that
of the
because
fact
they look
that you
so
stressed
bitter and
out.
so mean.
Yeah.
Well, but
Because you
not
stressed out.
necessarily, guys. Not necessarily a person.
Sometimes,
It was sometimes, but think about it. Think about it.
yeah, that's true.
9 times out of 10, they're
You can't
not
tell.
right because
No,
that's
you
the
can't tell
problem.
by looking at a
People
person.
don't know.
No,
Right.
I
Hmm.
was
Think about
saying
all
that
the comedians.
right. I was saying that the wear and tear on your heart and stuff. That's what I'm
Mhm.
saying. I ain't saying
Yeah.
about the looks on the outside because anybody could look like you. They could look normal and they can be going through
And that can
something.
be
They could have been
that's
went through
true
that.
because that
You
is
can't
very true,
tell by
especially
just looking at some.
nowadays.
A lot of times when you see people that look bad or something, it's because they did drugs and they done did some
Yeah,
liquor, hard
and then some
liquor
people
all
that
their
look
life
like they
and
got it
stuff.
all together,
But
them the
it,
ones about to pop.
right. So it's not what you look like that can tell you the story about somebody. No, because you remember
Mhm.
mama, mama always said that what she said, um the cover of
Don't judge
you
a book
can't
by its
judge by
cover.
its cover, right? So yeah, you can't judge a book by the cover because they look like they going through a lot. No, you don't know that. They could be just somebody that have been drinking all their life. And it's because it was by choice. Or they could be somebody that doing drugs all their life and it was by choice. It wasn't
Mhm.
because they had to do it or that they was going through anything. Sometimes they get to experimenting with stuff, and then what happens is when they get to experimenting with stuff, they get hooked to the stuff. And so when they get
Yeah.
hooked to the stuff, now they don't know how to stop. So,
Mm-mm.
no, you can't say it's because of the way they look. No.
And then let me share this right here for anybody from now to 2,000 years from now. Please check on everyone you know. Don't assume because I'm strong or because I went to Harvard or because I got money or because I got it, I got the picture perfect life or because I'm slim like Beyonce. Check on people you love, because the thing about depression, when people say suffering, I'm a living witness. It is suffering that you cannot understand. That's why I say I cannot put into words
No.
to you all, but what I can tell y'all is the pain of it all. It is a pain that will manifest unto physical pain, but the pain that you feel, it's like the sadness that you feel, it's a pain that you cannot describe. That's what happens when people who take their lives, they can't
Yeah.
take it no more.
Yeah. You see the little 16-year-old girl from Toddlers and Tiaras. Remember that? Do you remember that show? It was called Toddlers, from
Yeah.
Toddlers to Tiara. Well, the little girl, Kaylee, Posey, she passed away 16 years old, May the 2nd.
She
She
took
commit,
her.
she took her own life. You know,
That's
yeah.
why
And
we got
so many of them are so
we got
young. Lord have mercy.
It's
we have
just like the little Miss America, the young lady that Miss America. I was just telling Margie that she was talking about how people were saying that she was too old to be Miss America, she was ugly, and things like that. That kind of stuff, people don't realize that that's bullying. That's a form of bullying, first of
Yeah,
all. When you
it
get on the
is.
internet and start talking about folks like that, that's a form of bullying, you know?
on top of whatever she
She
already been
already
through.
going through, right? You I don't know, people just don't think about that kind of stuff. They don't
No,
think about
they
how
don't think
they
about the
they hurting
consequences.
somebody, or they hurting somebody in some kind of way or
Because
something like that. They don't think about that at all, and that
most of the
that
time
hurt
they
that
hurting
woman.
themselves,
Yeah, they hurt
so they
that
want
young
to hurt
lady,
the
and
people
she
that
hurt
hurt.
herself. And they said from her story, she was saying they were saying her parents were saying that that wasn't the first time she had did it. She had tried before, and she told her mother she wouldn't do it again. But this last time, before she got rid of herself, she told her mom. She sent her mom an email. She sent her a message, and the mom didn't get a chance to read the message fast enough. And by the time she read the message, she told her in the letter that this was going to be the end. You
Oh
know,
my
she was
God.
saying goodbye
Wow.
to her. Could you imagine what that mom was going through? You know, and
And
it
the
was
fact that
there
she didn't
help?
read
You
the
know,
text as soon or the mail before it happened, she probably
yeah.
thinking to herself,
Think about
I
it.
had just paid attention or something when I saw it, or
No, it didn't have nothing to do with that, because from what the mom was saying is that when she noticed what she had wrote, they were in two different cities. So
right,
it was hardly anything she could really do to help her. Rather if she called somebody, who's she gonna call? She could call the
And,
police, but guess what? That still wasn't gonna stop the
no.
situation,
And
you know?
nowadays it's hard about when it comes to that.
Yeah.
and
And,
you know what's the sad part about it? When people take that route, they
mhm.
feel like they're doing what's best for everything. Okay.
Yeah, but you hurting everybody that you leaving behind.
But they don't
That
see it
love.
like
And
that.
exactly, they don't. They don't see it like that, but that's what you're doing. You're hurting everybody that you're leaving behind. You're hurting mom, you're hurting your dad, you're hurting your sisters and brothers. And she had sisters and brothers. The young lady, the USA lady, the young lady, she had sisters and brothers. She was like, I think the oldest, or in between there. It was
Mhm.
another child that was older than her, and she left behind siblings. She left behind her siblings and stuff. And the
Yeah,
youngest ones didn't really know how to handle it, they said, because they didn't grow up with her like the older siblings did.
Right.
So yeah, it's
And that's
not.
traumatic for somebody young, and they especially when they don't see can't see that person no more.
Mm.
Yeah, well, they said that they handled it differently from the older kids. The older kids let their feelings show of what they were going through. The younger ones didn't know how to feel. They didn't even know how to feel the
They
pain
didn't
that
know.
they were feeling. So they didn't
hmm
even know how to handle it, you know?
So they didn't even know how to feel remorse
Mm.
Right. They didn't know. They
or hurt
because they
or
was
anything,
yeah,
compassion,
they
nothing.
were hurting, but they didn't they did their the way they showed their emotions was a little different from the older kids. You know,
But
it's what they were saying. The parents were saying.
what worries me with that in this country right now. It's been so many things done, so many killings, and so many people are committing suicide. So many things are happening that when you hear the news now of somebody that got hurt or somebody that got killed, it's almost like the norm that you don't react like you used to.
Mhm.
Before you used to be, oh my gosh. Now it's like, okay, who's next? That's the first thing you be thinking, and when will it stop? And so it's like you just don't know how to, and that's probably where they were. They didn't know how to react because it was like it's almost like that's all you hear about all the time. If
Mhm.
it ain't if it ain't somebody that you know, it's somebody on the news,
Yeah.
that you heard about of a family member. Like I've heard somebody say one time before, they never thought it'd ever end up at their household until that hit their household. You know.
Yeah. Well, a
It's
lot of people
it's
don't think
more
that.
common. Yeah, it's more common though than
Mm-hmm.
people know that people think even have a thought of a suicide. And if you have a brief moment of to
Mm-hmm.
think about it, it's too much. But
Yeah.
That's
I
true.
say, my advice to anybody who is dealing with any type of mental illness is to get help. I mean, I can't even say speak to your family. Um,
National
okay,
Suicide Prevention
yeah,
Lifeline. Call there, or you can
reach
also
out, reach
you can
out.
you can also text. They even have a text line, so you could text them at that 741 number
Yeah, 'cause
and
there are
reach
people,
out to them.
there are people who family, make them feel like outcasts,
Yeah,
but there are professionals who really care. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
their job to care. They took an oath to care. So
yeah,
if anybody who's watching this if you ever feel like you don't want to be here or you shouldn't be here
mhm,
anymore, please reach out to somebody. Like I say, even if it's not your family, to a professional to get help.
yeah. And it's okay to go see a psychiatrist. You know, for years people always say, "Oh, that means if you going to see a psychiatrist, you crazy as hell." No, that does not mean that. Sometimes people need to relieve stress. They need to talk to somebody because they don't have anyone to talk to get what they got on their mind out. So it's nothing wrong with seeing a psychiatrist or
Nothing.
therapist, or is nothing wrong with it at all. You know, in our communities, a lot of times we think that way, that it's not okay to go see a therapist, or it's not okay to see a psychiatrist, but that is your way out. That will help
It's
you
your way
because
out.
you get to talk to somebody. Look, I'm sure I've been to a psychiatrist. I've seen a psychiatrist before. I've sat with a therapist before and talked with them. Because sometimes we can't cope with certain things. Like in my situation, I couldn't cope with the loss of my mom. I had a hard time coping with that. So because I had a hard time coping with it, I had to get some help. I sought help for it. And it kind of helped me a little. And then, I think the person that I went to was the reason why it didn't really help me the way I wanted, that I felt that it should have helped me, because she did not listen. She was doing more talking about her own life and her own stories about her family, but I'm paying you to tell you about what I'm dealing with, you
Wow.
know, and I didn't like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of people out here that's
Well,
the
they
problem.
a
They don't
lot of
have
them do
time
that
to
for real
listen.
though.
They don't have time to listen. That's the problem with a lot of people. They don't have time to listen, and her job was to listen to me, and she did not listen. And so it didn't really help me with her, but I'm sure there's somebody else out there that can help me. because I'm still going through it. It's a struggle sometimes. Sometimes, some days I'm okay. Then there's some days where I feel down, and it's because I miss my mom. You know,
Mm-hmm.
no
Yep.
matter what age, stress. Angelique said,
No
No
matter
matter
the
the
stress
age.
will be there.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, exactly. Well, guys, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to Inspirational Talks with Laura Simmons and friends. I hope that if there's somebody out there that may need some help or whatever, you seek help. We got the National Suicide Prevention Hotline on the screen. You can also text them at. You can text. You can call them, or you can text. Some people prefer to text, so you can text them and talk to them through the text line, and maybe somebody can help you out with what you're going through. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys on Thursday. Good night,
Yep.
everyone.
Good night.
Anything y'all want to say before we go?
Just take care of your mental health
Yeah.
and pray, pray, and pray.
Okay. Good night, everybody. We love you.